Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Test Tube Plus today. I am Trace. This is episode 3 of 5 in our series on fear. It's pretty good so far. Make sure you watch the other episodes if you haven't already. This is a show where we break down a big topic into a bunch of different sections so we all understand it a bit better. And we've talked a little bit about how your brain responds to fear and why fear does what it does and how sometimes we pair it with things like clowns. So that's pretty awesome. You can listen to this whole series on iTunes right now. You don't have to wait for all the episodes to come out. Find that link in the description. But today, we're going to talk about why we like being scared. So why do some of us love fear so much? We all, or at least a good amount of us, have had an experience of getting scared and feeling like amped and just like kind of liking that negative feeling of fear. But what makes some of us love it and others, not so much? Dr. Margee Kerr, a professor at Robert Morris University and Chatham University, explains that not everyone enjoys being afraid. And she says, I don't think it's a stretch to say that no one wants to experience a truly life-threatening situation. She goes on to say that to really enjoy a scary situation, we have to know we're in a safe environment. It's all about triggering that amazing fight or flight response and to experience that flood of adrenaline, endorphins, dopamine. But to do so, you have to do it in a completely safe space. Also, Professor David Zald from Vanderbilt University said one of the main hormones released during or following scary stimuli is dopamine. Everybody loves dopamine. It's the hormone that makes us feel great. But as it turns out, some individuals may get more of a kick from this dopamine response than other people do. Some people think that brains lack what Professor Zald describes as brakes on the dopamine release and the reuptake in the brain. In other words, some people are going to really enjoy thrilling, scary situations, and others, not so much. Glenn Sparks, a professor of communication who studies the media's effects on people from Purdue University, said that only about a third of people will seek out scary entertainment. I am not one of that third. The other third actively avoid it, not one of that third either. But the rest occupy a middle ground where they can handle a scary situation up to a certain threshold, but they're more interested in testing that boundary. I'm probably in there somewhere. Obviously, when talking about how we are drawn towards fear and towards being scared, we have to talk about horror movies. Even for people that really enjoy a good horror movie, there can be lingering effects of negative emotions because of the distressing feelings that are stored in the brain's amygdala. The amygdala, as you may recall, is sort of like the fear center of the brain. It's where fear is kind of imprinted so we can compare things later. So let's give an example. How long did it take you to get back into the water after watching Jaws for the first time? Did Hostel, the movie, make you not want to stay in a hostel anymore? Do you know, there was actually paramedics called during The Exorcist? People were at theaters freaking out, who fainted. They went into hysterics while watching The Exorcist, so they had to call the paramedics. And yet, people kept going and watching all these movies. Maybe not Hostel, but the other two. This brings us to the phenomenon known as excitation transfer. When scared, the body undergoes a lot of changes because of a scary situation. We talked a little bit about this earlier. And what happens in the brain when your body is spooked is one thing, but your body is going through changes as well. But when you're scared, your heart rate increases, which is kind of obvious. I think everybody probably knows that already. But your breathing rate increases as well. Your muscles are going to tense up, and a bunch of other involuntary responses happen. And this is all preparing you to act. Even if you're just watching a movie and there's no way you're going to act except maybe to eat more popcorn. And these things aren't necessarily pleasant on their own, but the feeling that replaces these harsh body responses after the excitement wears off is what we love and what people keep coming back for. We get this immense sense of relief, this kind of elation. These positive feelings are way stronger than the negative feelings of getting scared. Plus, a lot of people have a sense of accomplishment. They made it through this thing. They conquered their fear. We all love feeling like we held our own in a scary situation, and it's a good self-esteem boost to be like, yes, I made it through this haunted house, or I watched Saw 5, or whatever it is that gets you into that place. It's a sense of accomplishment. And horror movies are a big part of that. Horror movies often feature a lot of gratuitous sex as well, and that ain't no accident. In a 1986 experiment, teenage boys and girls were required to watch scary movies in pairs. One of the members of the pair was instructed to act a certain way, either conforming to gender roles or rejecting them. The other person in the pair had no idea that they were instructed to do that. So the research found that when the girls acted scared, their male counterpart found them more attractive. But when the girls talked about how lame the movie was, they weren't perceived as more attractive. On the flip side, as you can imagine, the ladies were more attracted to the guys who acted brave and unfazed by the movie's imagery, whereas if they acted scared, they found them less attractive. It's not exactly a huge surprise, and yet it's super compelling if you think about it, because when people experience things together, like fear, that creates memories and imprints on their brains. They bond, which is why people like going to scary movies together. Surviving these crazy or stressful situations like fraternity hazing and sorority parties and you name it. Yes, I equated hazing and parties. It sometimes can be crazy like that. Even roller coasters and thrill parks can cause people to bond. It doesn't have to be super insane, but these emotions can imprint on us. Have you ever had an experience like that? Do you have friends who are like that? Do you have, friendships that are built on these experiences? Tell us about it in the comments. But what if we didn't have fear? What if we could just turn that process in the brain off? Not have fear at all? We're gonna find out more about that tomorrow. So come back to TestTube Plus. Make sure you keep coming back every day. You can subscribe so you don't have to remember to click back. You can just get us right in your inbox. And also, if you don't wanna wait until tomorrow, go over to iTunes, download this as an audio podcast. You'll get all of the episodes in one. There's a lot to talk about with fear, and we still have that special guest coming up. So make sure you keep coming back, and thanks for watching TestTube Plus.